What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream episode of For the People podcast. And of course, I am your humble host, Nico House, back once again with my man, Kyle. What is going on, bro? How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It has been a busy week, but it has been a absolutely fantastic week. If I told you everything I did yesterday, it would make your head spin. My schedule's so ridiculous, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Man, bros, ridiculous schedules. It's like, at this point, I'm just like, I just accept it. I don't even fight against the current anymore because with these kids, dog, like it's kids. I don't know who keeps me busier, the kids or the news, which is like crazy to say because if you have kids, you know how hard it is for anybody to keep you busier, especially when they're at the age that mine are at. But somehow, some way, Trump keeps finding a way. He keeps finding every time. I'm like, oh, this looks like it's going to be a chill week. No, he manages to ruin it. And we got some breaking news that Kyle actually found right before the show. Glad he was checking it out. So let me put this up for you guys. And I'm actually going to let Kyle break it down for you since he found it for us. So we got some news about the peace talks, if you want to call them that, peace talks.
But so make sure you put that in quotes.
Yeah, right, yeah, like peace, if there is anything such as peace with Trump, but also like this man don't talk about a damn thing. He never seemed interested. And once again, we have some more breaking news, seemingly proving that once again. So, Kyle, can you go ahead and break this down, this breaking news about the meeting that was supposed to happen tomorrow?
Yeah, so from the Kabasi letter, I'll just read through this a little bit. We've obtained more details on Iran's quote-unquote final decision to not attend talks with the U.S. and Pakistan tomorrow. I'll read the details, then I have a little bit more information that I think you and I both probably saw throughout the day. But point one, Iran says Pakistan brokered 10-point ceasefire plan was proposed, which allegedly Trump had said was a good ground for working with, which I think you and I covered 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden they turned around and said, oh, well, actually, no. One of those points, which was the Hezbollah point, or the ceasefire in Lebanon point, was a big sticking point for the Trump administration after they already accepted it. No. But regardless, two, Iran believes this plan was undermined by quote unquote weak enforcement, which, if we had to guess, there's a certain country who isn't the United States or isn't Iran that's also a part of this conflict that never seems.
Is it Argentina?
Well, you know what? That's getting there too. Number four, Iranian officials believe talks are quote unquote pointless amid the U.S. blockade on of the Strait of Hormuz, which I can't really fault them there. Five, Iran has informed the U.S. via Pakistani mediators that it will not be attending talks on Wednesday. AP is now reporting that Vice President J.D. Vance has called off his trip to Pakistan tomorrow. So they kind of covered what I was going to get into a little bit, but J.D. Vance canceled his trip, and then also this morning they said that like the flights never took off or something like that. So I don't know if that's because they decided to just say, you know, screw it, we're not going to do the talks. I don't know what exactly the plan was, but I really can't fault the Iranians, and I think we've been on the same page pretty much the entire time that we've been doing this together, that Iran has every single reason to distrust the United States. You've entered negotiations with them twice now, and you got attacked both times when you had further talks scheduled. So I really can't blame them for looking at this being like, well, if you're going to bring the same two people who you guys use as a ploy to attack us as you did last time, why should we take this seriously?
That is a brilliant point that you just brought up.
Yeah.
So outside of the blockade, obviously, in my opinion, being a, because Iran said it's a roadblock, but really the moment that you decide to implement a blockade in the middle of ceasefire, there's no longer a ceasefire, because inherent with a blockade is obviously the willingness to enforce it, which would require you to attack the other country or any country that would be passing through those waters. So there's that. But then there's the point you just brought up. How do I know that y'all not just gonna bomb the hell out of me once we get there? How do I know that my leaders aren't going to be attacked en route to these talks? There is no guarantee of safety. And if you look at the comments from Trump, really since the ceasefire started, but even over the last couple of days, we have no idea what his angle is, what his intentions are. He said that he was willing to have peace. Then he said he wasn't. Then he said he was winning. Then he blamed Iran. Then he doesn't seem to have any intention on really anything. There's like no intentionality in it. Like, I can't trust his words.
He did
I
also
can only
say
trust his actions and his history. And his history doesn't lead me to believe that it actually would even be safe to travel to Pakistan of all places, which is, I mean, more or less a puppet of the United States, and engage in further peace talks.
Yeah, well, Trump was intentional enough to say that Israel did not convince me to do this war, and I'm like, if you would have just not said anything,
I would go.
I would have been like, okay, whatever. But like when you come out and say it, I'm like, guys, in like it's just all of this is the whole Melania Trump and Epstein stuff, and then this, I'm like, can you guys just try to hide it a little bit?
Right. So I think some people said that was in response to the Tucker Carlson stuff, but Tucker has been saying this about Israel being responsible for starting this war for a while now. That clip wasn't the first time he said it. So I don't think that the timing is coincidental. I do think that ahead of these peace talks, he was trying to drive a certain narrative not in case the peace talks fell through. For when the peace talks fell through, for when they continue this war, because he knows it is wildly unpopular, and he knows that it's wildly unpopular not only because it's based on lies, but also principally because everyone knows that we're fighting this war on behalf of Israel. But the fact that he comes out and is like, nah, man, this has nothing to do with Israel. Damn, bro, like, you should call Marco Rubio then and maybe let him know that this has nothing to do with Israel, because he was pretty clear during his press conference whenever this all started. Yeah, we had to attack because Israel was going to attack, and if Iran responded, they were going to attack U.S. assets, and therefore we were forced, they forced our hand more or less. Right. So yeah, I mean, you can slice it any number of ways, whether it's bad or misleading intel, misleading like on purpose, whether it be forcing the U.S. to attack because Israel is going to attack Iran and Iran was going to respond in kind. Like, there are a number of ways you can slice it, but either way, all the conclusions lead to you're doing this because of Israel and you don't got control of your pit bull. So now we're all facing the consequences. And he went on a rant on True Social, in case y'all didn't see it, basically trying to make up a very, 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 very long-winded excuse for why he believes his war with Iran is justified.
Right. Yeah. If your war was justified, then you shouldn't need to constantly tell people that it's popular, that Israel didn't make you do this, and like try to convince people, because it would be self-evident. But yeah, clearly it's not self-evident to the people. When the U.S. was founded, they said that these truths are self-evident. A lot of the founding values that were instilled in the society that was the United States. Because once again, yes, but now if you constantly have to tell people, 100% of MAGA voters support this, at a certain point, it's like your bluff is no longer a bluff anymore. Like, people obviously don't believe this, and people all over the world don't trust the U.S. anymore for this exact reason. I saw somebody accuse China of committing they said it's an act of war or something like that, because they supposedly gave chemicals for Iran to make weapons with. And I'm like, wait. You're really going to go there? You're going to say China supplying just like materials to make weapons is an act of war? Who is the one that attacked a country aggressively? I mean, there's two countries that did this for the world to see. When, like, this was no secret that the U.S. and Israel attacked, Iran aggressively. Yeah. And then you're going to get mad when China says, hey, we're going to give you some materials for weapons. Like, we have a long-standing partnership. This is what we've done before. We're going to do some more.
Also, would Israel be able to attack Iran without the United States weapons? Like, Iran wouldn't have these problems if the U.S. didn't exist. So are you really going to say that China giving aid to Iran is an act of war? Since when are allies being allies considered an act of war?
Right.
That's weird. But this is, we've talked about this before. They're setting the stage for a potential war with China. The U.S. is setting the stage for a potential war with China, which would be like, anyone who thinks that that's a good idea in the administration is absolutely bonkers. But I don't believe that there's anyone in the administration who thinks it's a good idea. I do believe that there are China hawks, but that's not the same. Like, there are plenty of Iran hawks. There were, in the administration, there still are. But the majority of them still knew, yeah, man, I want Iran gone as much as the next guy, but we can't do it. Like, if we could, we would, and we would have done it already, but we're not, because we can't. So like, how about we attack them anyway? They won't see that coming. Yes, they will. That's what we're telling you, right? That's what these generals have. Everybody's been saying, and I imagine it's the same thing with China. And so when these saber rattling against China isn't serving anybody but the United States. Because in my opinion, if you're going to keep saying like, oh, this is considered an act of war, if you're going to continue to try and mount this condescension towards China, mount this hatred towards China, try to convince everybody that they're our enemy, and then we're still not doing anything. Oh, okay. So you're just convincing everybody more so, in my opinion, that you have an enemy, you don't like what they're doing, you consider an act of war, yet you still can't do anything about it. So it's better just shut up about China. Because you got one problem that you can't even resolve. Right. We got these peace talks are supposed to end tomorrow. And even though Trump allegedly says that he's supposed to maintain the ceasefire, once again, even though it was already violated and technically with the blockade, you're not engaged in the ceasefire. But right. At least he said to the Prime Minister of Pakistan, he's not going to bombard Iran. But there is no guarantee that after tomorrow, Iran's not going to continue bombarding Israel and the rest of the allies.
Right.
There's no guarantee. And if I was Iran, would you? Would you not bombard them? I would.
I think they said that they kicked the ceasefire. Okay, yeah, okay. Trump said he will extend. I don't know if you saw the other tweet I sent you from
the tweet
from David.
Yeah, Trump said he'll extend it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, they said they'll extend the ceasefire, but the blockade will stay in place.
Which is why so at that point, it's exactly. Not a ceasefire, in my opinion.
Right. And it's so funny because like you were mad about the Strait of Hormuz being closed, so you blockade it, but like there were still ships going through. And let's be honest,
without problems.
Yeah. Are you really going to want to go after, first of all, some countries that the ships are going through to are your allies, and then some of them are Chinese ships. Like we were just saying, do you really want to bring on that ire? Are you sure you want to do that? Because you can't handle Iran. So how do you think it's going to go when you have to face a country with a very advanced navy?
Exactly.
If you want to read that, or if you want me to read it on my
own. Trump said on True Social where he does literally everything, which is once again no different than Elon stroking his own ego on his own social media platform, but whatever. Statement of President J. Trump. I don't know why it's funny, because like we know that Trump tweeted this out, right? Like I would put money that he sat there on his phone and tweeted this, right? And yet he still puts it in front of it while tweeting from his own account, statement of President Donald J. Trump.
He wrote his name literally at the very top and at the bottom. The only thing that's missing, the only thing that's missing from this is thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, based on the fact that the government of Iran, like, bro, he capitalized government of Iran. Like, you gonna try to tell me this is a press secretary who wrote this? Woo, man. It's seriously fractured, not unexpectedly so. And upon the request of Field Marshal Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of Pakistan, we have been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran. Why is he capitalizing random words? Is this some kind of crypto thing going on here? Like, is he being cryptic? Or if you put all the random capitalized words together, does it spell something? Or is he just an idiot? Like, probably this is an official. Yeah, he's probably just an idiot, but this is ridiculous. I can't believe he's my president, is what I'm saying. Well, he's not my president anymore. Anyway, he said we have been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran until such time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. I have therefore directed our military to continue the blockade and, in all other respects, remain ready and able, and will therefore extend the ceasefire, which is also capitalized for some reason, until such a time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded one way or the other. President Donald J. Trump, in all caps, for some reason. I don't know what to tear apart first, the logic of this tweet or the randomly capitalized like words. That shit is bothering the hell out of me. Because like, why did you put this statement? Like, he put the statement of President Donald J. Trump up there like it was literally like a media person who wrote this. Yeah. And it's clearly him on the toilet after dinner.
There's so many people that always say that he, like when he wrote a tweet endorsing Mark Levin, I remember everybody saying, "Oh, that had to be somebody else that wrote that." I'm like, no, that was him. Like, are you going to tell me the dude who everybody ubiquitously says had got on, became the president of the United States by shit posting on Twitter? You're telling me that guy gives his social media keys to anybody? No, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. So
Yeah, if someone has it, it's just to check the notifications to let him know when he needs to respond to somebody else. That's the only reason. That's the only reason I can imagine somebody getting on his account. But other than that, yeah, no. Anyway, so he's effectively trying to, in my opinion, finagle his way into an undefined time period of a ceasefire, which is effectively an end to the war, an end to U.S. allies getting attacked. What I'm assuming he would hope to be an end to Israel being attacked by Iran, and a way for him to say, I won because of this blockade, and try to walk away like he actually got a victory out of this war. That's, in my opinion, that's what he's doing, because he's not negotiating, because effectively, if Iran doesn't like what they say, they can say, fine, we're just going to continue the war. And Trump doesn't want to give them the opportunity to say that.
right.
So he's going to stonewall them, basically.
Yeah, it's so confusing because there have been decent enough off ramps for him, but he constantly chose not to take them. And if you're going to extend the blockade, then you know that Iran's not going to accept an end of the war in that respect. And if you're going to try to enforce a blockade, then once again, you're eventually going to meet more military attacks from Iran. You could say that you destroyed their navy and you destroyed all their military capabilities. Okay, well then why do you need a blockade if all their military
Exactly
like we keep being told that he keeps saying we won the war, but if you won the war, why do you need a blockade? Why?
And also, he said the Strait of Hormuz is open, everybody's flowing, all carriers and all the tankers and everything's flowing smoothly, nobody's being held up. So why are you putting on a blockade to ensure that somebody is held up? Because wasn't your goal to open up the Strait of Hormuz so nobody would be held up? Like, now it looks like, to some degree, that the quote unquote China conspiracy theorists that were saying like a lot of this war has a lot to do with China, as much as it does with Iran. Once again, because that toll is still in effect, even though they open up the Strait of Hormuz, the toll is still in effect. Anybody can pay it, but it will be paid in yuan. And obviously, the United States doesn't want that. They're like, that is a snowball effect that we can't afford. And so that's the only only really real reason I can imagine they will continue this blockade after directly complaining about this very thing. Like, we can't ensure that the Strait of Hormuz, or that Iran will let boats flow freely through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, we'll let them flow. Hold up. We can't allow that to happen now. Like, okay, I'm confused. And what exactly did you want?
All this, I keep scratching my head at it because I'm looking at it. February 27th, none of these issues were a thing. And it's like watching your kid drop something, watching it scatter everywhere, and not like a careful drop, like a purposefully stop and then lets it go and just starts screaming. And it's like, well, if he didn't drop it, you wouldn't be in this situation. This was Trump. And like, it's even worse because like talks were scheduled. They keep saying, oh, well, look, there's a deal on the table now. Look, we made Iran comply. No, the same deal is on the table that was available in early June before the 12-day war. And even back when Trump first got elected, back during Biden's term, all these, this great deal has always been available. But all you have to do is basically say like, hey, we're going to take some sanctions off you. And then you agree to nuclear inspections and we're good. And like, that's not really like, that wouldn't be a politically impossible thing for Trump to do. And
it wouldn't a year ago it wouldn't have been.
Right. But you see, people would be dumb enough to like, if he literally got a deal that was identical to the JCPOA and he called it a greater than the JCPOA deal, which you keep seeing him say that he's going to get a deal better than the JCPOA.
Compared to the JCPOA deal.
Yeah, you're going to get
he would name some shit like that too.
You're going to get a deal worse than that. And then you're still going to, or he's going to try to pass it off as a win. Instead of calling it the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, he's going to call it the Jewish Comprehensive Plan of Action or something like that. And then talk about how much of a great deal it is, or like how Iranian freed assets have to go to like Barclays or something like that, some Jewish run bank. So see, we actually did this a smart way.
Yeah, right. Oh man, no. So what I ultimately believe that this is going to end up, I actually can see a scenario where Iran responds by continuing to attack U.S. assets in the region because they were very clear about their military strategic goals.
Yeah.
Just like this is Trump trying to control the narrative and trying to control the outcome of the war. And I still stand my ground firmly when I say that no, you don't get to control the outcome anymore. That is not in your hands. Like he's trying to, but the fact that Iran has come out and flat out rejected them and said, no, we ain't flying out there for shit. For what? They're not taking anything seriously. We're not about to waste our time again. And like I said, there is a safety issue that they're not naive about. They are very aware that, no, we're not going to fall. The first time, it was dangerous for them to go out there and meet them. The first time. They said, but we're going to hear y'all out. Why would we put ourselves at risk again? And JD Vance allegedly had canceled before Iran said that they weren't going to entertain them. So like, okay, so maybe somebody else would have been scared. Once again, the moment that you said the moment that you said JD Vance was going to be the guy who's going to negotiate on behalf of the United States, no one's taking these peace talks seriously anymore. Every time, first of all. But even if you were planning on sending someone else speaking his place to get to maybe get a little bit closer on where y'all agree at on terms, like I would still not take that if I wouldn't take that bet if I was Iran.
Right.
I wouldn't. No. I'm like, no, you ain't about to fool me, motherfucker. Like, I ain't about to fall for that. Shout out to Louise Brooks for the super chat. Appreciate you. Nice. Yeah, like if I'm around, I'm not falling for it. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Right. You cannot play with them like that. Go ahead.
It's always like when Iran tries to extend like a show of good faith, or even if they're traveling, like Qasem Soleimani was assassinated on a plane leaving Iraq in 2020, or was it January 2021? It might have been January 2020. Either way, dude was killed.
Soleimani?
Yeah.
Oh, it had to be 2019.
Was it?
Right? Because it was Trump was president.
Yeah, well, Trump was still president in 2020. Was it January? I know it was some.
It was like November. It had to be November or December. Because it was before the turn of the new year. And everybody was freaking out. I remember. It was before the turn of the new year.
So, like, just the way that the Trump administration has gone about this war has been so dishonorable. And it amazes me that people don't, like, bring that up more. Like, to attack someone amidst the idea that you're in good faith negotiations. And then another thing that just kind of drives me nuts is that, like, there's this media campaign surrounding JD Vance to make him seem like he's not involved in this at all. But every time you see him speaking about it publicly, he's all in on it. So
is there really? I'm not into the libertarian world. Like, I'm not in the algorithm.
It's not even. Yeah, no. It's not even just like the libertarian world. But like I've seen I like Larry Johnson quite a bit. I think he's great, but I hear him saying like, "Oh, well, Vance is a restraint," or Vance says that he doesn't want to fight this war, and then I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't stand when people say what the fuck Vance wants literally changes every single day. If you ask about JD Vance for 5 years ago, supposedly he was super pro LGBTQ. Like he was super liberal, and then he became a libertarian, and then a conservative, and he hated Trump, and he loved Trump. Hated Trump again, but then he loved him. Like, don't tell me. Don't try to convince me of JD Vance's convictions. I don't give a damn.
And on top of that, one of the first things he said right after he got elected in an interview was, "You got to hit the Iranians hard." And then when he goes out in public, he's saying, "Oh yeah, we're engaged in good faith negotiations."
Yeah, bro.
Nobody believes that. How can you believe that?
We're totally engaging in good faith negotiations. Who would suggest otherwise? Mr. Vice President, no one has actually said that you weren't engaging in good faith negotiations. Oh shit, for real? Like nobody said that, Vance. I don't know why you just that had nothing to do with the question. Actually,
the 87-year-old common A would like a word. The 87-year-old man with fucking cancer that you bombed when he wasn't even hiding, and you guys run around like this was some giant fucking victory. You put a dartboard up with him. The dude was
Yeah.
87 years old and he was a religious hero to those people. And you killed him when he wasn't even hiding. You're taking a victory lap like you did something great. I'm sorry. Western tradition is that we respect our enemies. I reject this entirely.
Yeah, I don't know who been convinced of that BS lie. We've never respected our enemies. No, we respected our enemies. The enemy that we respected more than anybody, which is like still amazing to me that we did that, is the Nazis. Since World War II, we've given them greater respect than any other enemy we fought since, which is insane. And it's probably because they were on our team. That's a different conversation for a different day. So Tucker Carlson came out and really made a statement that I actually had to congratulate when I heard it. And it's not because, he's criticizing Trump, but it's really for the statement that he made regarding his role in getting Trump elected and how he knows it impacted other people's decisions and how he's regretting that.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. So yeah, let's go ahead and listen.
Bet. Let's check this clip out. Jesus Christ.
You and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him. I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
I gotta say.
Yeah, you go ahead, go first, because I got a lot to say.
So I feel like he was actually being genuine here. I feel like part of the reason he's like messing around a lot is because he's like uncomfortable with admitting how wrong he was. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult for a well-respected journalist who's considered an authority on many issues, like Tucker Carlson is, to admit that he misled millions of his supporters. Mm-hmm. That's a huge because there's the ego that won't allow you to do so because you know that people go to you as an authority and you don't want people to not view you as such. But then there's the actual real impact that people will no longer view you as such going forward. That's a real thing that you see journalists fall victim to a lot when they refuse to admit when they're wrong.
Right.
So I believe that he was being genuine. I believe that he believes that it was a mistake. But I believe that it's very commendable of him to say like, nah, we're responsible for what's happening right now. Mm-hmm. To say that, to take it that far is where he gets my respect. Because this isn't like a Hassan Piker situation where Hassan Piker, every 4 years, Kyle, he pretends, every 3.5 years, right? He pretends that he's going to challenge the system. He pretends like he's a super socialist, super communist. He's against the Democratic establishment. And then about 3.5 years in, right before the elections, hey guys, go vote for Joe Biden. And then come January 22nd of the following year, he pretends like he didn't just go tell us to vote for a genocidal maniac who had dementia.
Right.
He like literally, I scrubbed the internet to figure out if there was any mention of Hassan Piker apologizing for pushing people to vote for Biden in 2020. Mm-hmm. No. He just talks about how his genocidal policies are going to make it very difficult for him or Kamala to get elected. Mm-hmm. That's about as far as he took it. And then continues to this day, as we know, to push the Democratic Party and to push Democratic candidates. So like for Tucker to come out and admit that, although I have my criticisms of him, I just feel like that's an example that a lot of journalists could learn from, a lot of presentators and commentators could learn from, because that's how I know that we can go forward and have conversations about where we go as a country. I know that we can have those conversations in good faith, and I'm more willing to engage with you now that I know that you have the humility to admit when you're wrong on something as huge as Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I had thrown a lot of rocks Tucker's way because when he was doing his podcast throughout 2024, there were constant ads. Oh, this is the most important election of our lifetime. Campaign for Donald Trump, and really went all in on him. And I have to be honest of also where I was with Tucker. I would say probably up to a year ago, honestly. Right, seeing this, and you could tell he feels very sincere about this. So I agree with you that he seems like he's coming from a very, very honest place. Um, it does kind of require a little bit more reflection on his part. Like, I always ask this of people because it's so frustrating, but like, did you guys not pay attention to Trump's first term? Did you not pay attention
I agree.
to his rhetoric? Now, I'm not saying like we need to crucify people over this, but like, if you do this for a living, you know who Donald Trump is, and you should have, like, I'm an idiot. I fix cars for a living. I'm not a political analyst. I know more about geopolitics and politics more than the average person. I would by no means consider myself a genius. I'm probably one of the smartest people you ever meet when it comes to cars, but that's it. Because I've been doing it for 15 years. So that's different. But like, it's kind of on you guys to at least have some, foresight and honest, talk to Trump critically about the issues that you think he's going to be good on. And I know that sounds almost counterintuitive, but like, if he's saying all this good campaign rhetoric, then the first question should be, you had 4 years to do this and you didn't do it. Why? Then the next question is, okay, if all the bad things you did in your first term, including escalating the war, the potential for a war in Ukraine, why did you do that? And how are you going to change things going forward? And what's your
Operation Warp
plan?
Speed.
It
never got resolved.
Exactly. All these things, like, why did no one talk to him about this in the campaign trail? And Tucker's one of those people who's completely complicit in not challenging him on these things along the campaign trail. Okay. Now that the grievances are sort of aired, I just hope people kind of learn going forward. Nico, I'm going to give you the most surprising political insight I could possibly give you. Campaigning politicians lie to get your vote. This is like a shock to some people. People are like, Donald Trump betrayed his campaign promises. Holy shit, a politician lies on their campaign trail to get your vote. So I just ask that people think a little bit more critically. And I have said the entire time since early 2024, whenever I found out that the Libertarian Party nominee was Chase Oliver, if you were going to vote in 2024, if you consider yourself anti-war, right-leaning like I do, an immigration restrictionist, and perhaps, a little bit more on the capitalist side, which, you and I can have those debates all day, every day, then your only choice, I did not make this choice because I chose not to vote. I'm probably not going to vote again unless it's someone like Thomas Massey. But your only choice in 2024 was Donald Trump because at least he was different than the Democrats. The Democrats deserve to lose in every sense of the word. But once again, I could not put my faith and vote behind Donald Trump because I knew this stuff. I knew he was going to end the war in Ukraine. I knew that we could potentially end up right where we're at today. So, to me, a vote is an endorsement. It's support. I refuse to support anybody that would, continue the genocidal policy in Gaza, the Cold War with China, the war in Ukraine. And Trump is guilty in all those counts. So I just ask, like I said, to get off my soapbox, I just ask that people have a little bit more insight and think critically about candidates who are on the campaign trail that sound really good, but have, especially ones with a proven track record of doing the exact opposite of what they campaign on.
Yeah.
So,
hell, you can say it like it is. No, don't just think critically, think honestly. Right. Be honest with you, because there's no way, so I remember having this conversation with several conservatives, MAGA people, who, were saying rightfully so that the Democrats deserve to lose. And I agree. Right. And they're like, oh, so that means you're going to vote for Trump. No, I will not vote for, I'm not doing that. What the hell? Why? Right. I'm like, okay, let's just start with something that y'all allegedly agree with. Has he addressed Operation Warp Speed? Has anyone addressed that? I mean, which part? The part where they gave them immunity? When they gave these pharmaceutical companies immunity, gave them $10 billion to fast track a vaccine that shouldn't have been fast tracked, or even before that with the other bill where they bailed out the corporations to the tune of damn near trillions. Right. Like that was him. That was all him. So we can make an argument like Congress. Yeah, okay, cool, but at the same time, Trump berated Thomas Massey for saying, like, we should hold a vote on this. Like, you can't just print trillions of dollars that's going to completely change the economic situation of the world, not just of the U.S., but of the world. Of the world, yeah.
Yeah, 40% of U.S. dollars were printed at that time in 2020, which is what caused all the inflation that we saw. Was the giant, Yeah,
Shit, we're still seeing it.
Yeah, exactly,
Bro.
Nobody talks about that.
You went into the car market the other day. I mean, it was at a private situation. It was a private situation, but like, I'm sure looking at cars lately, you've seen the inflation has not gone away. Back in the day, bro, you can go to the dealership, brand new, go get a Toyota Corolla for $13,000-14,000 easily. It wasn't even that long ago, y'all. It was like 7-8 years ago. And then immediately after the pandemic, and even really during the pandemic, bro, to get a used Toyota Corolla is $20,000. Like, that is obscene, guys.
Yeah.
And it's because of the inflation that was caused by those bills. And I remember specifically talking about this. A lot of people were like, yo, this is going to mess our economy up. And I don't know if we're ever going to recover from it. This is going to be one of those situations where the rent spikes up, mortgages spike up, cost living spikes up, and then it'll go back down. It'll never return to where it was.
Nope.
And effectively, it never did.
Yep. Exactly.
And Trump was never held responsible for that by his base. So why would he then, with 4 years and no terms in front of him, decide, I'm going to do better this time? I think I'm going to keep my promises. I think I'm going to not be beholden to corporate interests and the Israeli lobby. When y'all didn't hold him accountable for everything he did the first time, because if you would have made him address a lot of what people were criticizing him for out loud, it would have made him second guess. It would have, because that's just how Trump is. He's very, very very self-important, very ego-driven, and he likes to be liked, which is why he's so reactionary when someone as popular as Candace or Tucker or even Alex Jones, who's currently pretending as if he's standing against Donald Trump and he's always stood against these policies, right? Like, that's why he has to react whenever people as popular as them call him out, because he loves to be liked. He loves to be loved. And so if you call him out during the campaign, he will be forced to adjust, because that's just who he is. A lot of stuff happened that happened during his first administration. For example, I believe that the reason that we ended up not retaliating against Iran whenever Iran retaliated for Soleimani was because his base was actually pretty damn loud about, hey, bro, you shouldn't have even killed him to begin with. Like, even if we had problems with him, which realistically speaking, if you know the actual history and what he was actually responsible for, you shouldn't have a problem with him. But even if you fell for the propaganda against Soleimani, you knew that was not the way you handle the top general of any powerful nation.
Right.
It's not how you handle it. And you knew that responding to Iran for having a very rational and reasonable response to the assassination of Soleimani would have been ludicrous. And I remember how many people were pissed about it. And I remember that was one of those times where the MAGA people and the leftists and libertarians were all like killing their favorite politicians on social media. Because for the conservatives, right, they were cheering for what had happened. The people that were part of the administration, some of the people that were still trying to ride in the Trump economy, as I like to call it, and the Democrats were only complaining because he didn't get their approval first, right? And very, very similar to what we see now. And everybody ripped him for it. And we didn't go to war with Iran. And we were on the precipice of going to war. So we have several examples of where his base holding him accountable actually probably saved us some headaches. But during that 2020 or 2024 campaign, I completely agree with you. There were people like Tucker. I feel like Candace wasn't loud enough in her criticisms. She had a few, but she wasn't loud enough, in my opinion. And I do believe it was based out of self-interest, if I'm being completely honest, right? I give her credit where credit is due at this point. But I remember where I was on Owen Schroyer's show when he was still with InfoWars, or it was a war room. I remember us talking about all the problems he had with Trump and how he was upset at other conservative commentators for not calling Trump out. Even for some of the surveillance stuff that he did towards the end of this campaign, because he was like, yeah, I don't like BLM, but that surveillance shit was a step too far, because he knew, like I did, Democrats were going to use it.
Right. Well, and on top of that, Trump had said kill FISA, as in the FISA courts, which are the foreign the Foreign Intelligence Spying Act, I think it is, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
That might be incorrect, but FISA is basically just warrantless surveillance upon Americans. And Trump had said kill FISA on Truth Social, and he also ran against FISA, before he was president in 2016. Okay, well, every single opportunity he's had, he's renewed.
You're right. It's Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that just sounds really simple. I can see why you thought that was wrong, but go ahead.
He renewed FISA every single time that it came up to be struck down. And once again, what is it used for? That was used to wiretap his campaign. Like Obama used that in 2015 to wiretap his campaign. And like, you wouldn't just be like, holy shit, they used this against me and I have the chance to get rid of it. Yeah, it's a Fourth Amendment violation and it's a violation to basic privacy. Okay, so get rid of it. And now you see people, Anna Paulina Luna, saying we need voter ID in order to renew FISA. How about we don't renew FISA at all? Like, no negotiation. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. That's what that is. Clear as day. Get rid of it. I don't care if Trump wants it. He said he doesn't want it. Okay. Hey, Trump, here, Truth Social, you said kill FISA. We're going to do it. we're following what you campaigned on. And Thomas Massey, once again, he's always berated and called a grandstander because he's like, hey, you guys said we're going to cut wasteful government. We're going to get rid of all the spying. We're going to get rid of foreign aid.
Bro,
and then
Thomas Massey gets so much shit from doing he's like, hey, remember when you guys said this? Why do you keep bringing up old shit?
Yeah, are you a Democrat? That's what he always gets. Oh, you're just siding with the Democrats.
It's like, whoa, I'm just reminding you what you said, bro. It's on the internet. We all see it. Can't believe that. Like, you're 100% right, Kyle. Like, you're 100%, like, you have had so many opportunities to fix problems that directly affected you.
Yeah.
Trump. Like, directly affected you. All these, or another thing, right? JFK files. Epstein files. Like, it took, to be completely fair, right? If there is one reason to be critical of Tucker and maybe even Candace to some degree, well, Candace has been pretty critical when it comes to Epstein files, but just other commentators who took a while to come off the Trump train, like, y'all had to, like, he had to lie even further, or at least impede the release of files that show politicians having sex with children, guys, trafficking children. That, like, even after that, y'all were still like, I'm gonna hold on for a little bit longer. What?
Yeah,
you feel me? Kyle, he literally was like, man, that's just a conspiracy theory. No, you ran on releasing those files.
You know what's even worse is that, and I don't know if you've ever seen people like this, but the loud proclaimers of how virtuous they are, right? Like, I'm thinking of a guy who has a sticker on the back of his Jeep and it says "Make America Safe Again," and like, these are the same people who like will visually and explicitly tell you about how much they dream of torturing pedophiles, which, like, nope. Okay, congratulations. It's like saying you're against slavery in 2025. Okay, congratulations. We're all on the same page.
Right? Yeah.
Pedophiles are bad. Slavery is bad. Okay, we all agree. But like, they proclaim virtue so loud, and like, there's always like just a little skeleton in the closet there where, like, Trump's talking about making America safe again, but then all of a sudden Epstein files, we can't release those. Like, if you have to pronounce how virtuous you are, it's probably because you're doing not so virtuous things.
Usually that's how it works.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, like,
well, do you know about what happened at the Republican National Convention? I believe it was in Chicago. In 2016, it was 2016 or 2020, but it was one of the two. But I do remember it was during the Trump era. Did you read about the prostitution there?
I thought you were gonna say grinder, but yeah,
Well, that actually is my point. So the gay prostitutes came out and said they had never been busier in their lives until the Republican convention came to town.
Yeah,
they've never got as much business. That was literally there was an article in the New York Post about it.
Do you remember? I don't know if you saw this. Lauren Boebert was asked about sexual scandals in Congress, and she was like, "Why is everybody so horny here?" And I'm like, "Hun, you got caught in the movie theater groping up your boyfriend." Which, like, hey, should you be groping up your significant other in a movie theater with kids? Probably not. But like, it's dark, whatever. But like, at that point, you don't get to ask, why are people horny here when you're sitting there, when your boyfriend's finger banging you in the movie theater? Like, you know why Congress
so horny? Because they don't got shit else to do. Like, they legitimately do have other things to do, but they don't do shit.
Right.
If you give somebody money, access, power, connections, like, and nothing to do,
Yeah.
they're just gonna go have sex. That's
Right.
and party. That's kind of like the way of the world. Like, that's you see a lot of celebrities. They the same thing happens, and a lot of these politicians, especially in today's world, they believe that they're tantamount to celebrities. Like, that's what they truly believe. So there's another clip by Tucker that I wanted to run by you guys too, from the same interview. Kind of with just him doubling down on what he said. Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, Tucker's had a really, really good arc recently, including borderline calling Trump the Antichrist on Easter because, yeah, Trump's whole threatening to blow up a civilization. I don't think he was going to fall. Like, I had a hard time believing that he's really going to follow through on that. But also, like, on Easter Sunday, a day that's supposed to be in, like, the Christian religion, a day of worship, threatening to genocide a country of 90 million people. I don't know how that sits right with any person who calls themselves a Christian. You know what I mean?
Nah, facts.
So
Facts. I can't find it. I thought I had saved it here, but I can't find it. But it was kind of just more of him doubling down on just how problematic the Trump administration has been, and and a lot of it having to do with this war with Iran. But it's a lot of things that, I mean, Trump, even in the past, like the whole grab him by the pussy thing, that really happened. He never denied saying it. It was just shrugged off as locker room talk. But like, I know from my perspective, as like when I was in the church, like heavy, that probably would have, like, I probably would have not voted for him. If I was considering, I was working for Bernie at the time, but I'm just saying, like, if I was on the fence and I heard that, because that would have really made me wrestle with my own morality and like, what am I willing to support just to get my way, and et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, no. And also, like, just logically speaking, if somebody carries himself like that in this situation, how are they carrying themselves? How would they carry themselves when they're given power over these individuals? Like elected power, a mandate to do what they want to and get away with it, because he didn't even apologize for it. And I understand, like, the whole boys will be boys thing. Like, even women say stuff sometimes in private that you'd be like, what? Like, good Lord, I didn't know y'all talk like that. Yeah. I done see some group chats, y'all. I got sisters and shit. So, like, I know, but there was no remorse. There was no, like, he didn't express any type of sincere remorse for what he said, or like, you got a daughter, bro. Like, and you just talking like that? That would have made me not. But these Christian conservatives, just shrug it off. Man, you guys are tripping. Man, like, oh man, y'all gotta take everything too seriously, too literal. Well, no, he literally said that. He felt that way. He didn't apologize for it. So
I would be indifferent to the Christian conservatives if they brushed off all of, like, the moral stuff. And I'm not saying they should. What I'm saying,
but it would be consistent.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't sit here and cry about how, Democrats are doing this, or, pornographers are doing this, or anything like that. If, when Trump does something that's clearly against your morals, you have to apply that standard universally. And generally what I'm looking for in anybody who, when they're talking about these kind of things, is, once again, symmetrical application of logic. If it's only in, oh, well, I like Trump, so yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, no, you could say that it's a bad thing. It's okay. I'm not saying you have to throw him out.
Be congruent.
Yeah, you could just say, yeah, I don't like that, but you know what? Overall, I still support him. Once again, I don't. That's not the way that I would do things. But, like, from your own worldview, and just, I don't know, it drives me nuts when you see Christians moralizing, but then when it comes to, especially matters of like war, where they're like, oh yeah, well, we just killed a bunch of brown people somewhere. Like, I'm sorry, no. How would you feel if, once again, if China dropped the bomb in Pittsburgh or something like that? For me, that would be a huge tragedy.
You don't have to ask, Kyle, because whenever a bunch of brown people get killed by the U.S. somewhere, undeservedly so, they just shrug it off like it's another number. If one white woman gets killed by some random black person, and a lot of times they're just assuming it's an immigrant. They don't even know if it's actually an immigrant. Like, it's crazy. It's a crazy reaction if it's a black person. It's a crazy reaction if it's an immigrant. But God forbid it's a black immigrant. Like, the world must come to a halt. This is the only issue we're allowed to talk about. All immigrants are murderers now. No white person has ever murdered anybody in their lives. White women are not the victims, they're not primarily victims of their own white spouses and white family members and white friends. That's not the case. It's actually black immigrants killing all white people. Ah! Like, it makes no sense. And you're absolutely right. You're not being congruent. I'm the same way. For example, positive thing. Whenever I'm very big on pursuing peace, if at all possible, because I don't want people to die unnecessarily. Right. So like whenever he actually sucked up his ego, sat down, talked to Kim Jong-un, got Kim Jong-un to talk to President Moon, I congratulated him. I was like, for the love of God, please give him the Nobel Peace Prize. Because maybe we'll actually get some positive results from it. Like, because he loves having his ego stroked for doing good things. But if people criticize him for doing what's wrong, or for doing, if they criticize him for doing right, he'll just say, fuck it, I'm just gonna give in to the corporate interests who were trying to persuade me anyway. Because at least that way I keep them off my ass, right? And I don't have to deal with this media backlash. So I believe in giving praise where praise is due, even if I don't support you overall. I believe in criticizing where criticism is due. And I hope that, I have no problem when people do the same if it comes to me. Because once again, it's about being congruent. And I just think overall, this is a lesson for Tucker, for Candace, even Thomas Massey to some degree, maybe for some of the Congress people who supported him in his last administration, kind of got back on the train reluctantly, but still stayed the course because they were like, well, maybe we can. RFK, another example, right? Stayed the course. Maybe I can influence him. Maybe I can influence him. Maybe I can influence him. No, like Kyle said, y'all saw the last administration and he hasn't apologized or addressed any of it. So what would make me think that with 4 years and no recourse, no way to hold him accountable, no Democrats with the backbone and no Republicans who want to stand up to him outside of maybe Thomas Massey, what would make y'all think he would change his character out of nowhere? It just makes no sense. I want to show this clip really quick before we move on to this Argentina story, because the Argentina story is pretty huge. But y'all know who Dr. Marandi is. He actually put out an announcement the other day that he was going to have Piers Morgan on, especially after Piers Morgan came out and was like, y'all never have me on Iran state media. And Dr. Marandi was like, first of all, motherfucker, I invited you on my show because this show is on Press TV. And he's like, I invited you on my show and we can talk about and debate whatever, because he's debated, because Dr. Marandi has actually debated people on Iran on his show before. So it's not like he would be the first one. But Dr. Marandi was very clear that he was going to challenge him. So if he's going to come on his show, like, you need to be willing to engage with the not just, because we're not just doing genocide's bad conversation. Yeah, we know that.
Or the famous Piers, do you condemn Hamas? Every single show.
So in that same vein, Dr. Marandi had a very legitimate question for Piers to ask. And boy, when you look at how stupefied this man's face is, because it's like he couldn't believe that question got asked. And it's funny because you see very quickly why Piers doesn't go on other people's shows that often if he disagrees with them. Like, that's why, it's probably why he would never go on, for example, George Galloway's show. Like, George said he would never go back on Piers' show, but George used to go on his show pretty frequently. And he actually said, if I'm not mistaken, George said once, yeah, you can go on my show. We can have our debates. We can have a conversation. And Piers, if you've noticed, doesn't have a tendency to go on other people's shows. There's probably a reason for that. And you're about to see why right here.
Have never accepted.
Do you accept?
You have never
I do not
accepted.
accept.
You hang on.
Tell me. Do you reject ethno-supremacism? Do you believe that a regime that is based on ethno-supremacism is illegitimate or not?
Well, I don't exactly know what you mean. What do you mean?
Is a regime that is based on the concept of ethno-supremacism, is it legitimate or not?
Well, what I would repeat to you is what I've repeated to people about Israel for the last year. The Israeli government, not the people of Israel or the country, but its current government under Bibi Netanyahu has been doing a lot of things which I strongly disagree with. Yeah.
Do you reject a regime that accepts, that carries out a regime, not an administration, not a government, a regime that is based on ethno-supremacism.
Well, I literally last week.
That is why Hezbollah died.
Let me answer.
That's why people in Hezbollah died for the people of Gaza.
Fine. If you let me answer, only last week I attacked the Israeli government and Ben-Gvir in particular for the way they brought in a new law which would only kill Palestinians who they deemed terrorists, execute them with the death penalty, but not Israelis. Right? I thought that was outrageous and appalling.
Okay, just really quick, Kyle, just to make sure that I'm keeping track. Did he answer the goddamn question?
No.
Just want to make sure. You're like, oh, just last week, I did a criticism. It's wrong to kill Palestinians only for being terrorists and not Israelis. Okay. So anyway, back to the original question. Will you condemn a state or a regime rather that is because it's ethnocentric. They are very clear about who can be Israeli, who gets, and by the way, and I need people to understand this beyond a shadow of a doubt. Don't believe that just because like you're an Ethiopian Israeli, you will be treated the same way as Ashkenazi Israelis.
Oh, no. Well,
don't think that. Just don't think because you're a Sudanese Israeli, you get treated, or even a Yemeni Israeli. Like, oh no, it is an ethno state.
Yes,
and they mean that shit. Mm-hmm. Like that, just because you call yourself Jew, they're Palestinian Jews, and they get treated like shit.
Yeah. Well, I think it was actually Sabi that had brought this up to me that it was Ethiopian Jews who were actually sterilized.
Yes. I broke that. So I was the one who re-broke that story.
Okay.
Because you want to know how I found out, as crazy as it sounds? So I used to date an Israeli.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you telling me about
we
that
were
before,
always arguing about this issue of Israel because it was super bizarre. She was Libyan. She was of Libyan and she was a Libyan and Iranian descent. Mm. And so she looked very unique even for an Israeli and actually got treated like shit growing up because of it. Mm. And I'm like, and you don't see how these issues are connected at all? You don't imagine like it could be because there's a possible white supremacy issue even within the Jewish community? No, why would you think that? I think they're just some racist Israelis. Like, no, you said that you were basically treated like shit. Like, bro, she got treated so badly while living in Israel. And I need you to understand something. For all my problems with her, this woman was fine. She is probably one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Uh-huh. And like, this is like, I'm just being honest. Like, my ex was one of the most crazy, but one of the most beautiful. And she would get made fun of for like having curly hair or for looking too Arab by other Israelis, like Russian Israelis, Ukrainian Israelis, to the point where she like did whatever she could to leave the country for her early 20s, like the entirety of her early 20s. And then when I have conversations with her about the ethno-supremacy issue in Israel, she'd be like, I don't get it. I don't see how you're making these two things, how you're connecting these two issues. I'm like, are you joking? So I was doing research just to show her how the African Jews were getting treated, because I didn't know generally how they got treated. And I found that story. Yeah. I was like, there's no way this story just slid past the news desk and no one reported on it? Mm-hmm. And no, because while we blow up a story about Israel literally sterilizing Jewish Ethiopians and prove everybody right.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. And that's like that type of story. Once again, imagine if, could you imagine if Afrikaners in South Africa were being forcibly sterilized by the black South Africans today? Right. Could you imagine Elon Musk's reaction? Could you imagine even Piers Morgan and his reaction? Like the white Western world would lose their shit. Mm-hmm. But this story, Kyle, you gotta remember, this story is maybe 8-9 years old. Mm-hmm. It's not like 50 years ago. It was like, I think it actually happened under one of Netanyahu's terms.
Well, yeah, and you know what? To this point, too, I'm sure you're familiar with the whole Uyghur, quote unquote, genocide in Xinjiang. that was a numerical error that Adrian Zenz had committed, where he had misplaced a dot when he was calculating the total amount of sterilization things, IEDs, I think they're called. That might not be correct, but the overall premise is correct, that he was off by a factor of 10 in the amount of sterilizations that were being done to Uyghur women, and he considered that a genocide. And you saw this all throughout, like Ron DeSantis brought this up, saying about how there's Uyghur sweatshops in China. Joe Biden sanctioned China for the alleged genocide. Conveniently, right after Trump launched a CIA propaganda war against China in 2019, this story broke everywhere. You heard this
that is exactly right.
Right. But then Adrian Zenz had to come out and admit that he fucked that up. And you heard this story nonstop from every single level of the U.S. government. It turned out to be bullshit. But wait, we can sterilize the Israelis can sterilize Ethiopian Jews because they're not the right skin tone. All right. Nobody cares about that.
They were work because everybody has a right to return. And if you're Jewish, you have a right to return. You have a right to guaranteed citizenship. And whenever the Ethiopians exercise the same rights that they believe, or they exercise the same rights that these Russians, the Ukrainians, basically the Ashkenazi, the Polish, like all of them, everybody from Eastern Europe, that's an Ashkenazi Jew, in case you didn't know. And Africans, a lot of the Arabs, Desis, they would be considered Sephardic. So they were just exercising the same rights that they believed that they had, and the white Jews didn't want to be overran. That they were very clear about that. And I need y'all to understand. It's like, we don't want to strain our system. I need y'all to once again understand. It's not like Ashkenazi Jews flow in by like a couple like tens. No, they flow in by the tens of thousands. They buy up property, don't even stay at them sometimes. They just want a vacation home. There are a lot of reasons why, but they get flooded with Ashkenazi Jews, and no one complains, and everyone has benefits. Everyone. I can't tell you, once again, story about my ex. Do you know how much shit she would put off, bro, until she went back to Israel? She wouldn't buy medicine in the U.S. She wouldn't get her teeth done in the U.S. She wouldn't. She would just do like regular checkups, but she wouldn't do any major procedures in the U.S. I'm like, why? She was like, because really, your medicine's worse. Everything's more expensive, and I have free healthcare there. Like at the end of the day, I was like, what do you mean free healthcare? Because I didn't know at the time. She was like, we don't pay for anything. Hold the fuck up. Fuck you just said to me? Boy, what? I said, excuse me? What do you mean you have free healthcare? How am I paying for that? Because I also found out, like, when they get done with their service in the IDF, bro, they get like, I think it's something like 10,000 shekels or something like that. Or you can have a wedding paid for, or you can have a business paid if you get a grant for a business.
Yeah.
It's something crazy. And they have like guaranteed severance pay. All kinds. I'm like, this is why y'all so motherfucking spoiled. This is why y'all do not want to give up these guaranteed safety nets.
Yeah. Well,
and the fact that y'all not paying for them is even crazier, right? Because they don't. It's not like they pay for them. We do.
No, yeah, exactly. Well, once again, why do you think Netanyahu literally brings his dirty laundry over here to the United States? Because it sounds ridiculous, but there's like New York Post stories about this, that he brings his dirty laundry to the White House for the staffers to do his laundry. That's literally how Israelis look at Americans. They look at you as tax cattle. Not to go, super crazy, but there's a reason why they have that word goyim and why they look at us as lesser than. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you're not Israeli, if you're not, 100% pure Jewish, you are less than them.
Yeah. And even whatever they consider pure Jewish, which is a whole different conversation. Right. It's like we said, it's not like being Jewish is just being Jewish and being born in Israel is still not enough of a qualification for you to be considered one of them if you're born too dark.
Right.
Which is like, this is what Dr. Marandi is talking about. Piers Morgan likes to say, do you condemn Hezbollah? Do you condemn Hamas? Okay. Well, I don't really condemn organizations that wouldn't even exist if you weren't constantly terrorizing people. Like, once again, when we talk about Hezbollah, just for everybody's information, that would be like saying, like, okay, do you condemn the entirety of the Republican Party because they're in power right now? And I mean, you could just say, I do, but you know what I'm saying? Like, but that would be the equivalent of somebody asking that. And then, of course, on TV, they're like, I'm on the entire party. Like, yeah, the Democrats might say something like that, but then that wouldn't mean like you're literally going to go to war with them, that you're going to justify bombing innocent people to get them out of power, because that's effectively the consent Piers Morgan is trying to create, not him, but others as well, where they say, do you condemn Hezbollah? Do you condemn Hamas? Because somehow condemnation of Hamas therefore justifies all the innocent Palestinians that die in pursuit of trying to attack Hamas. And no one ever wants to address, why did Hamas get such a mandate to begin with? Or hell, say Netanyahu's goddamn role in creating Hamas. Right? He used he used the dissent that he created to fund them, to create them, to give them legitimacy. Like, there's so many layers to it. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to, and Dr. Marandi's point was well made, and he said that he was going to ask him this and challenge him. And Piers Morgan cannot bring himself to admit that the Israeli state is problematic. He pulled that Bernie Sanders bullshit.
Yep. It's all
I have
Netanyahu.
a problem with Netanyahu. The Netanyahu government. The Netanyahu government. You mean all the motherfuckers who are letting him be the president, the prime minister? Like,
Well, I mean,
he does have people in the government who could take his ass out.
It goes beyond that too, because like polling shows that the war, their efforts are wildly popular. Because I don't want to get trapped in the logic, and I'm not saying you win here, but like a lot of people will say like, well, who elected Hamas? Okay, well, leaving aside from the fact that half the population in Gaza is less than 18 years old, and they couldn't have voted for Hamas back in 2005, Hamas was forced onto the Palestinians, and there's quotes from Netanyahu explicitly saying, we control the height of the flames, we need Hamas because they're the only way to delegitimize the possibility of a Palestinian state. Hamas
they wanted to get rid of PLO.
Right, exactly, because the PLO was considered more reasonable. The Israelis are largely supportive of what Netanyahu does. And then on top of that, like Ben Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich and some of the other, the culture minister, his name escapes me right now, like all these people that are in the government, Naftali Bennett, who was a former prime minister at one point, like they're all on the same page. It's just about basically if you want to have MAGA, MAGA Zionism.
Or Ted Cruz.
Yeah. It's like, they're not really that far apart, at least from where we're standing. To them, I'm sure it's widely debated, but basically they still want the same policy. They want the Greater Israel Project. They want to ethnically cleanse Gaza. They want to have, as Jared Kushner put it, beachfront property in Gaza. That's what they want. They want to annex West Bank.
By the way, I think it's important to say that we do know that there are Israelis who in the government who don't want that at all. Like what we covered the other day with that IDF general. Basically, which would be a JAG officer, the equivalent of a JAG officer in the U.S. She was the one who released the tape about the tape that exposed Israeli raping the Palestinian. Like, because she was like, y'all not about to get away with this, and then try to pin this on me later. And then what did they do? They fired her and put her in jail.
Yeah.
For exposing not for doing anything. Like, she literally just, hey, this is the security tape. Because they were lying, saying it didn't exist, hiding the evidence, et cetera, et cetera. And she was like, I'm not going to be part of that. There are people in the government, but they're like 15 of them. That's the problem. Yeah. Because who elects them? That's what it ultimately comes down to. One of the things that we wrestle with when it comes to the U.S., one of the things that's highly debated in the U.S. is like, the reason that MAGA is in power right now, the reason that Republicans are in power, y'all elected them. No, not really. There's fucking people don't vote because there's no good options. Right. And then with the Electoral College and all the fraud, which you can slice that however many ways you want, like even our adversarial governments know from other countries, they're like, they ain't put them people in power. We're not about to kill them. Like, for what? This isn't a situation like where you so in Brazil, for example, you have to like legitimately accept that Brazilians put Lula in power. Like this, in this particular case, the CIA wanted Lula, but because there is a requirement that basically ensures that like 97% of all Brazilians vote. And if you don't vote, you have to provide a legitimate reason and you have to pay. Like, you're going to be punished for it. Yeah. So everybody votes. Everything is closed that day. You got to go vote. That's not the case in the U.S. It damn near feel like sometimes, like, more businesses open. I feel like people are required to work longer at times. Like days they otherwise wouldn't have been called into work. Like, hey man, you plan on voting today? Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah, fuck all that noise. That just starts out the window. You working double today, boy. Like that's how it feels. It's a chore for Americans to vote, and Americans are lazy as it is. So like, it's very important to acknowledge like Israelis take pride in voting for these assholes. Like Netanyahu may be disliked by a portion of the population, but that was after he did the worst possible shit that he could possibly do. And let's be honest, it has nothing to do with the genocide. Mm-hmm. Like their mind changing about how they felt about Netanyahu only came because, like, for example, they found out that hostages were being killed, and Netanyahu was greenlighting it, knowing that those hostages were going to be killed if he bombed certain areas, thinking Hamas is there. Mm-hmm. That whenever some of the parents of those hostages that were killed came out and spoke out against the administration, he silenced them in various ways. So like it was like, okay, you can't mess with us. We're Zionists. We're supposed to be on the same team. You can kill those people. Like even their logic, even when they're kind of justified in disliking him, it's still a fucked up reason for disliking him. Like it ain't far enough. So that's why when people say, well, I just have a criticism of Netanyahu, it's Netanyahu's government. No, bro. They selected him. Right. And I do got to say, too, which I keep hearing all the time, which is kind of scary. People keep telling me that Smotrich, Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, like that there are people that are worse than them in power right now. But that's fucking terrifying. Also, those people ran for office and won.
Israel Katz is their defense minister who has always thrown out like these insane war plans. I can't remember what some of the ones were back in like late 2023, early to mid 2024, but he's another one that's just like one of these insane just crazy guys who wants to dying for the Greater Israel Project. If you guys follow Dave DeCamp, he always will throw up like some of the stuff that they're saying. It's just like I was told yesterday by a friend, I like this guy, but him and I are just on completely different sides of the Israel issue. And I was told it's Islamic propaganda to cite the Times of Israel. And I'm like, what?
Since when?
It's like, how
is that? Because the Times of Israel has accidentally exposed him recently, like over the last year or so.
Let me make sure I had this story right.
The Times of Israel was the one that exposed the conversations where they those not the generals, was like colonel or a couple of commanders basically green lighted the shelling of those houses during October 7th, where they led to the killing of the Israelis, right? And they also showed they were the ones who reported on the Black Hawks destroying or attacking the Israelis too. And they also exposed the fact that that they were told in advance that there was going to be an attack on October 7th and that they needed to move the concert, and they refused to.
Right. And Yoav Gallant, it might have been the Times of Israel as well that had reported on Yoav Gallant, the former defense minister, explicitly saying that they did use the Hannibal Directive on October 7th, which how could you get a more damning statement than that? Because we're always told that this was the second biggest attack since the Holocaust on the Jewish people. But then your defense minister, not like some lowly staffer, the former defense minister explicitly says we use a tactic that is literally us killing our own civilians.
And then every piece of information that was released since backed it up.
Yeah.
It was obvious before that piece was released.
The Times of Israel had an article, and it said Ben-Gvir saying to ex-hostages, even if captives are being graped, deal will cause 10,000 future grapes. In heated meeting, one recounts harassment and captivity, urges minister to agree to end the war. He flatly refuses, denies responsibility for October 7th, and says the war must go on indefinitely. By Toy Staff, dated December 16th, 2024. I was told that this is Islamic propaganda.
Nah, man. What I
The
believe
Times of
happened
Israel.
is that somebody had a chance to make their journalistic career. That's what I believe. And I believe that the Times of Israel saw that they had a chance to get clicks, post October 7th, the same way a lot of other journals and news organizations, like, bro, everybody was trying to, and Times of Israel was I will say this, like, they were pretty obvious about this. They were like, bro, we're not letting Netanyahu fuck our money up. If we get some breaking news, we're going to report on it because we know that we could probably get it before anyone else can. Right? Like, I believe that whoever wrote those pieces acted entirely within their own self-interest. So I don't believe that they were reporting on that stuff altruistically, but that's what it ultimately comes down to when we say, like, there's nothing pro-Islamic or Islamic propaganda. No, it's just like somebody who's acting within their own self-interest report the truth.
Right.
The truth is the truth, regardless of whether or not it was reported with altruistic intent. Like, I don't give a damn. Is it true or is it not true? Yeah. And people don't want to hear it. But, like, also the Jerusalem Post has reported stuff like that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Jerusalem Post, Times of Israel. There's the one paper that the Adelsons own. What is that? Israel 11. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they've even reported some critical stuff of Israel. Oh, that's gonna bug me that I can't remember that. But it's not the Times of Israel. Anyways, it's one of the ones I know that, like, Miriam Adelson basically runs. So, but yeah, they've reported critical stuff as well. So I don't know, like, if I give you a Israeli newspaper and they're telling you the reason why I would do that is because I'm trying, like, if I give you Al Jazeera, Middle East Eye, or something like that, then it's like,
even antiwar.com.
Yeah, you could sit there and say, oh, well, they have a bias. Okay, fair enough. So I'll give you straight from the horse's mouth. This is the Israeli newspaper reporting on Israeli crimes. If that's not a good enough source, then I'm sorry. Maybe it's not them or me with the bias. Maybe it's you.
Yeah. And what's also hilarious about the Times of Israel, I feel like, is sometimes when they're reporting on things, when we're reading it, we're like, yo, this is nuts. But when it's being reported, if you read the tone that it's in, it's like that person writing doesn't think this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, they're just reporting on it. They're like, yeah, man, Israel's doing some crazy fucked up shit right now, but we're totally in support of it. We're like, yo, this is wild. Did y'all see this report in the Times of Israel? Like, and clearly the person who wrote the report had zero idea that the public was going to react like that. Yeah. Like, they didn't know when they wrote the report. Like, you see that all the time with Times of Israel and Jerusalem Post. So, yeah, it's we definitely can't just, like, disregard everything. I hate that shit. Even I feel like we have to read everything, like, within our own scope and within the context of everything that's happening. Because I feel like you can pull, even from Fox News reports, you can pull facts that can help you better understand an issue. From CNN, you can pull facts that can better help you understand an issue. Even if you can even pull arguments that you know are BS from listening or reading that stuff. That's one of the reasons why I read mainstream media. It's because I believe it's factual, but I need to know what arguments are being put out there to the ether for me to go ahead and build my arguments against them.
Right.
Because it's important for us to debunk propaganda wherever it may rear its ugly head. It's also important to recognize that you can find little nuggets in unexpected places. So I want to talk lastly about this situation with Argentina. So I don't know if y'all remember back, but I reported on the fires in the Patagonians in Argentina. We covered it on the show actually also, right?
Yeah.
And I was saying then, yo, based off of all the information that I've read, because for context, Israeli started those fires. Like, it's a fact. Like, they did it on camera. And then I found out about more fires that had started even prior to that. Then we found out about laws that had been passed under the Milei administration that effectively made it legal, or rather overturned prior policy that said you can't buy up public land merely because there was a fire set. He changed that law saying, yeah, you can. You can buy it up. And all in the Patagonians, like, if y'all don't know, is one of the most beautiful places in the world. There are also federal police that were running up in Native Americans' houses, the indigenous population. They were kicking them out, not allowing them to have contact with one another so that they couldn't warn the families or the friends in advance, expelling them from their houses, taking over that land. I mean, there's been a whole bunch of shit happening. So over the last couple of days, Milei made his 3rd trip to Israel in the last 2 years.
I know
he did some,
some wall
some
kissing.
explicative stuff to that wall, I'm sure, right?
I do have a little bit more to add to their whole
go ahead.
deal
I'm
with
gonna run this video, but you can go ahead.
The Supreme Court, I actually didn't know this. I saw my one friend shared this, but I didn't know that they used the same definition like the U.S. uses. But the Supreme Court in Buenos Aires, which is the capital of Argentina, adopts the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which is the same one they use here in America. That if you use that as if you say anything that's against the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, as a public sector employee in the U.S., you could be fired. You could be put in jail in 38 different states.
Yeah, and it isn't really a surprise because we know this man is a Zionist. There are people who actually keep saying that he's actually there's a potential for him to be Bibi's cousin because for those of you who don't know, Bibi's real last name is Milikowski.
Yes, from Philadelphia.
Yeah, from Philadelphia. Like that's true. Like his family's Polish, but he spent before he actually moved to Israel. He spent more time in Philadelphia than he spent in Israel. His last name is Milikowski, and Javier Milei is just a shortened version of Milikowski. In Argentina, funny enough, in the same way that Israelis change their names to sound more Semitic, to sound more exotic, to sound more native to the area where Palestine is. That's actually what Argentina does. Like they took these Italian names and made them sound Spanish. They took German last names, made them sound Spanish. Took Eastern European last names, made them sound Spanish. Like they did that over. So there is a chance that Milei and Bibi are cousins, which wouldn't really surprise me. And there is probably so Milei supposedly wasn't Jewish before, but then allegedly he was Jewish later. But there's a good chance that he was always of Jewish descent. But there is a 100% chance that he's just a bitch who's willing to be pushed by anybody who's willing to give him attention, give him some money, and help the grift go on. He is a worse version of Trump, to be completely honest with you, because there's nothing. He's not self-made by any means. He was basically, I don't know if you know his story, but he was actually bullied by his dad as a kid.
Yeah, I think I remember.
And you could tell it shaped every decision going forward in his life. It's everything he does is, hey, Dad, look at me. Look how popular I am. People like me and I have power. Not really, but it looks like I do. And those type of people, in my opinion, are the most susceptible to Bibi Netanyahu because you're easily blackmailed. You put yourself in debts you can't pay off, and you put yourself in situations where Israel could take advantage of you. And so, like I said, that's the third meeting in Argentina, or excuse me, the third meeting in Israel for Javier Milei in a year. Bro, what do y'all have to talk about? They got to talk about what are called the Isaac Accords. That's what they're called. It's they're sharing information, security, AI. It's just one of those deals. Basically, it was descended from the Abraham Accords, which Israel has done such a fantastic job honoring. Right, I'm sure this is gonna go well.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's when you see Netanyahu doing all these trips now, and it didn't seem like he did this during Biden's administration.
Javier Milei went there.
Oh, well, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like, that's right. I'm sorry. It seems like Netanyahu is really trying to shore up like a network. Because like I said, under Biden, this didn't seem to be as much of a thing for him to really be networking like this. Because
that's true.
Like
that's true.
I know we've talked about it, and there's plenty of like articles you could probably find from the Jerusalem Post, Times of Israel, whatever, talking about the curse of the 8th decade, which is basically just the idea that the Jewish people never last more than 8 decades in one area. Okay, well, we're getting pretty close to 2028 in case you haven't noticed. So it's maybe
and it's not like Israel's making their life any easier with you.
they're not making any friends in their neck of the woods. So honestly, he might be kind of like, all right, Trump, this is what's going on. This is what I need from you. And then Javier Milei, this is what's going on. This is what I need from you. Because like, if things go south, hey, we need somewhere to go. Either that, or hey, if things go south, then those little sites in Dimona are about to get dusted off. I could believe either one. Yeah.
Speaking of which, this has been reported by multiple people over the last several days. A leaked confidential document reported by Argentine media claims that there is a plan to relocate around 300,000 Israelis to Argentina and establish a special zone for them in the pristine, untouched forests of Patagonia. According to the proposal, parts of the burned forest areas would be turned into a state-like enclave called the Private District of Jeshua, Prophet of Israel. The report suggests that the recent large-scale wildfires in the region may not be unrelated to this plan. I told y'all. Once again, the wildest conspiracy theory that y'all think, like, no, that's too crazy, bro. Like, they would not. Yeah, they would.
You know what, Nico? I think you need to knock it off because that land was promised to them 3,000 years ago.
Man, it might have been. Who knows? Yeah. Like, because if you just had your bets and say that every land is promised to you, you know, then at least you're that way.
You might end up on. You might get one eventually.
Exactly. Somebody might believe you, right? Yeah. It says with the backing of Argentina's President Javier Milei, once the forests are burned, it would become easier to relocate and develop the land for new projects. So with the backing, what they're referring to is how he reversed those federal laws. In this context, the fires could be seen as part of a broader strategy to repair the land and pave the way for implementing this project. Notably, the proposed area for this zone is said to be 2 to 3 times the size of the Gaza Strip. It is also worth noting that a similar concept has reportedly been proposed for a highly valuable agricultural land in Ukraine. Oh, I forgot about that. About that story. There was, but I don't think that'll happen in Ukraine. I think it's too cold and it's too close to Russia.
Yeah,
like Russia. Russia puts up with a lot, and specifically Putin puts up with a lot, but he ain't putting up with no BB shit right under his nose. He's not.
No, especially not.
He deals with in Portuguese you would say ele aguenta. Like he deals with them from afar. Like okay, bro, I'm gonna let you do your thing. But don't come to my yard doing that shit. And we'll, so we don't cause any problems, I'll let you live. But if he ended up in Ukraine,
yeah, I mean, there's a very, very long history of pogroms, quote unquote. Not to say that there were no, violent and brutal pogroms. I'm sure there were, but like a deep history of Russian and Jewish, Zionists basically going back and forth that goes back thousands of years.
Yeah.
From different situations. And from my very, very cursory understanding of that, a lot of it was the Zionists being the way that they are. And then Russia finally saying, all right, well, we can't tolerate this. And then look, we're being pogromed. We're being thrown out of the area.
And
exactly. Pretty much that. Or, they act like the way that they're acting now in the Middle East. And then they're like, wow, why is everybody so anti-Semitic? I just can't, I can't figure it out. So,
which is crazy because you have to think this is like Russia, not even 200 years, not even 150 years ago, not even 100 years ago. Russia was probably one of the most diverse, if not the most diverse country in the world. Mm-hmm. Because you got to remember a lot of these countries that have different names now, like Tajikistan, there's just literally, I don't even know all of them, but basically all of Eastern Europe, damn near, all the way down to Iran, all of that was basically part of Russia. Mm. So that's why you have so many Muslims in these Eastern European countries. That's why you have so many Arabs in these Eastern European countries. That's why Russia was very diverse. And for some reason, those goddamn Zionists couldn't get there. It's like out of everybody we couldn't accept.
They just got to act up. Well, and like I consider myself to be like a libertarian minarchist. So like the only functions of like a government for me would be like a court to settle disputes, protecting life, liberty, and property. And then other than that, like most functions could be left to like localities, groups of people can figure out how to separate things from there. If you're going to have a government agency that's going to be like nationalized or like a federal one, like protecting state parks and stuff like that, so that way people can't destroy them, burn them down, is probably a pretty important function because, if you drive around the hills of Pennsylvania, it's beautiful in the summertime, right? If you drive, Argentina, you're saying the whatever those forests, Patagonia, yeah, beautiful. Yeah, wouldn't you want to kind of like preserve that? Like, I understand we all have to find somewhere to live. We need to find shelter. Like, nature is brutal against humanity, and we need to find a way to overcome that. But at the same time, there's still beautiful parts of nature that should be preserved. And in my opinion, I think it's perfectly acceptable to use government enforced violence. And like, I know that sounds very, very crude, if you will, but like if someone's going to threaten to burn down a forest, I think it's right to say, like, no, I think you understand what I'm like, you should be arrested if you're going to burn down a forest.
Well, that checks 2 of your blocks. So in that particular instance, the government would be protecting life, right? Because not only are you protecting the animals, like you're protecting the ecosystem. Because if that fragile ecosystem is damaged, you could fuck over the entire community in the surrounding area. Like, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's beautiful, but it's necessary to protect. Right. You never, like, there are always new bacteria, things like that they don't find out is a problem until after the fact because they were messing in a part of nature that they shouldn't have been messing with. We hear about those stories all the time. But in the case of Argentina, in the Patagonias, it was protected by the federal government. And this is one of those situations where Kyle, I'm assuming, is trying to explain and differentiate, like, nah, this is not libertarian policy. This is selling out to corporate interests, and specifically to Zionist interests. Because you use the federal government when you want to basically take money from the rich, print money, you want to borrow money from the U.S. You got other federal governments running your federal government, which got to be like the ultimate cardinal sin in libertarianism. It's got to be. You got other federal governments coming there and telling you how to run your federal government, which is supposed to be super hands off, right? And then when it comes to protecting the people, when it comes to protecting property, like I said, the federal government use their power to keep people off property in the Patagonias, right? Yeah. When it comes to protecting public lands, now all of a sudden you're a minimum. Now all of a sudden you wanna be hands off. You get what I'm saying? Like there's nothing libertarian about Javier Milei. And I gotta be fair, libertarians. I know that some leftists are like, this is what all libertarians want. That is not fucking true. It's not true. I know a lot of libertarians who thought, they fell for this gimmick for Javier Milei. I knew it from the beginning. I'm like, he full of shit. But I understand, like, if you don't read Spanish and if you don't understand the context of Javier Milei, I could see why the libertarian dream convinced you, like, maybe he'll be legitimate. But then immediately after, like, the first couple of years, they're like, this dude's full of shit.
When you're giving a full-on hug to Anthony Blinken, that should be your first sign that it's probably not good. But, like, libertarian utopia, at least in my mind, would be like, hey, in my mind, I'm pro-life, so you don't allow people to kill babies. You don't allow people to kill other people. And then other than that, it's like, hey, if you guys have a currency that works in your community, use that. If you have gold or something like that, if you have a cryptocurrency, whatever works in your community, you figure that out amongst yourselves. It's decentralized and as local as possible, so you guys can figure out what works best for your group of people. That's pretty much it. But this isn't that. You're basically making your country a kind of like a picking ground for all these different, like you said, corporate interests, Zionist interests in the United States, where that's like, no, that should be for Argentinians. Like, the people who live in Argentina, you should be able to, like, if this was a libertarian paradise, it's like, okay, well, we're going to keep this area as free as possible for the people of Argentina. And like, the US will trade with you. We could be friends, but like, you don't get to have a say in how we run our country. That's that.
Exactly. And so this document that was leaked also said that it is only Israelis that are going to be allowed to live there.
Of course.
That is insane. Now, there is a huge Ashkenazi Jew population in Argentina. Right. I don't know if you know, but Messi is a Zionist. Like Lionel Messi's a Zionist. He gets a lot of shit for it. One of the reasons I rock with Cristiano so hard is because he's the total opposite. And a lot of people actually say that Cristiano gets shit because he is not a Zionist. So like, when you're at that level of stardom, they want you to be like LeBron. I love playing in Israel. I've had no problem playing. I love Israelis. You know what I'm saying? They want you to be like Messi. They want you to be, even if it's tepidly pro-Israel, they still want you to be pro-Israel. They want you to do things that are in the self-interest, that are in the interest of Israel or Zionists. Cristiano does not do that. So like, Argentina is known for having a Zionist problem. And this is, in my opinion, like the United States is not that far off from looking like Argentina. Like it's not. When you think about the inflation, when you think about having a demagogue pretends that he's like a laissez-faire type, he wants a laissez-faire type of governance. He wants the government to be hands off, to keep their hands out of people's pockets. He doesn't believe in transferring wealth from the working class to the rich. And people fall for it. Like when you talk about printing money and people continue to vote for it and continue to vote for it and continue to vote for it, like how far off is the United States from becoming like Argentina?
Yeah, it's really not that far off. And especially when you consider, like, this is what stresses me about living in the United States is like, what future is there for Americans when, like, I was just talking to my one parts guy today, and we were just kind of dicking around talking about how much down payment. The one dude that works next to me pulled in a newer Yukon. It was $83,000, which is shitload of money. So that kind of sent me down the road because obviously in a few years I'm planning on getting a new car for my wife, and we're going to make our cars last the next few years, which I don't think will be any problem at all. But I'm like, okay, yeah. So we're looking. I think it was like $50,000 at 8% interest with like 10 grand down. Your payment's like $650 a month.
Jesus.
Yeah. So. Like for me to get something that I would really want her to drive, which would be like a Yukon or something like that. I'm like, man, this payment's going to be like as much as my fucking mortgage. Like, I don't want to pay that. So, but yeah, I mean, like, so if you want a house, the average mortgage payment in the United States is like $2,500.
That's the average now?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Okay. The average income in the United States is like $68,000 a year.
But so it went up, but that don't mean shit if average mortgage is $2,500 a month.
You see my point. And then the average car price, you're looking, your average car payment is like $600 a month. Okay, so right now you're at $3,000 a month for a car and for a mortgage. And then for me, my health care for the three of us is $700 a month. Like I make pretty good money as a tech. But like, let's say you're a 20-year-old kid just getting out in the job market and you're poised to make $50,000 a year. You're fucked. You can't do anything. You're fucked.
Let's say if you're a 37, I'm a 37-year-old. If I tried to move back to the U.S. right now, like we would be in a 2-bedroom apartment. I got 3 kids. Like, I mean, because I would want to be able to save money, have emergency fund. Like, it's not that I couldn't afford a house. It's just that I would be terrified of having an emergency.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at, based off of the place that I would live at. There are options where I could live in a place that's a little bit more secluded, a little bit smaller, cheaper. Yeah, but like where I want to live at and where I want my kids to have the most opportunity, like it would be it would definitely be more than average. Like we're talking about mortgages at $2,500 a month. I know people paying apartments for that, which is crazy. But it's not because they don't want a house. It's because they can't afford the down payment. Right. Because they have to pay so much for expenses every goddamn month. And then if it's like, okay, maybe I can't afford the down payment, but then you start doing the calculations about your for your property taxes. Because the mortgage is not your property taxes. And sometimes those property taxes can be just as damn expensive as your mortgage every month. And in Chapel Hill, there are people who pay more for their property taxes every month than they do their mortgage. And these are $1 million houses.
Oof.
Yeah, I'm talking about they got like 7-8 bedroom houses, but bro, they got like a Ford Fiesta in front. That's all they can afford. after they pay for that. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, well, you know what? Nowadays, that I would rather see that than what I see a lot of people doing. They'll have this little shithole house with the roof caving in, but they'll have a brand new Yukon or something like that sitting in the driveway. And my dad always told me, he's like, "Look, if your car is more expensive than your house, your priorities are kind of fucked."
Yeah,
Like,
but you know what? So my brother had is interesting logic, which is kind of true. At the time, he's like, "Well, I spend more time, unfortunately, in my car than I do in my house or my apartment." I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, I got
actually, when you put it like that,
Yeah.
He's right. No, like so. For example, before he deployed, right now, it is absolutely true. He did spend more time overall, like between soccer practice, band practice for his kids, for his son, because my nephew plays for the school and he plays for rec. My brother coaches. Then they have then band practice. Then his work. Then they visit the in-laws, visiting my mom. Like my brother actually was spending more time overall in his car than his house.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, I mean, I spend more time there.
Might as well be comfy.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, that's a damn good point. Bro, you know, when my first brand new car was a Kia Forte. It was like fully loaded and everything, bro. You know how much my payment was every month? And I thought this shit was expensive as hell. It was $175. And I was like, how am I gonna afford this?
Listen, dude, my wife and I just paid off her car in July last year, and that was $425 a month for 6 years. And that, like when I tell people that, they're like, "Man, that's actually not that bad." Because now, the one kid
new.
Well, it wasn't new. It had like 30,000 miles on it because like
that's basically new nowadays. Shit.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like my advice for people now is always get like a pre-owned vehicle. So basically like a lease turn-in with usually around like they'll have like anywhere from 20 to 35,000 miles on it. You still pretty much get the same warranty. Just the lease owner takes the hit on the equity, and then you get a newer vehicle with the same warranty. There's just no real downside to it. And usually they already put a set of tires on it, maybe some brakes or something like that. So you already kind of like cleared all that shit. Don't buy new. I know it's nice to get a brand new vehicle because it's yours, but just financially, it
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
like they're like very rare circumstances, right? So maybe like if you got like a Range Rover, definitely if you got a Tesla, right? Anything like where it's like a very unique situation where you want that dealer's guarantee.
Oh yeah,
because like. That because it's a very BMW, I would probably put in that category. You don't want a situation where you got to rely on a used guarantee and then because they're gonna fuck you. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they could. I mean, the dealer could too, but 9 times out of 10, when it comes to luxury cars, they're gonna take care of you. Like even when you take your car in to get fixed, they're gonna give you another car while you're waiting for it to get fixed, things like that. But outside of like those very rare circumstances, bro, go get you a fucking used car. Like, and if you can, even if it's possible, just pay off the car. Like, pay off as much as you possibly can. And like one of the reasons I haven't gotten a car yet in Brazil is because I can't afford one. It's because after I've dealt with like random situations with my car. I've paid I paid 2 off. I had one situation where my ex wrecked it, well, didn't wreck it, actually. It was almost new. She crashed it. The insurance company, excuse me, basically convinced her to let them consider it to be total loss, but then it wasn't really a total loss, so they tried to throw the gap insurance out, basically, and fuck us and make me keep paying for it. Yeah, like,
hell no.
Which is insane. I'm like, who the fuck? I didn't agree to that shit. So it was a whole thing. I had to like go back behind her because it was under my name. So I'm like, I don't know why the hell y'all talking to her about it. Like, it's my goddamn loan. So I don't know why y'all let her green like that because I never said that y'all could. It was a whole thing. And I had a situation where I paid half of it off and then it got stolen. I had a truck that got stolen, SUV got stolen in Little Havana. Yeah, which is crazy. A whole different story. It was a Jeep. I like that car. I really like that car too. But and I have my Honda Civic that I have now, which I love, is actually basically paid off completely. It's still in the US. But like, if I like the situations that I preferred out of all of them, except for my very first car, but once again, $175 a fucking month, never happening again, ever. Like outside of that, like the used car experience that I had, if you do your due diligence, is better overall. Less regrets. You don't pay too much. You don't have to wait for the refinance just for you to be in the same situation. Like, because a lot of times that's what you're doing when you buy a brand new car. You're kind of waiting so you can refinance, so you can get the same deal you would have got if you would have just bought the bitch used anyway. Like that's what you're doing. So it's that's. But I told my wife, I'm like, yo, I'm not buying a car right now. Or I can buy one, but we're not buying one. Why? Because I can just buy it. I just wait a year and I can just buy the damn car I want, and I don't have to worry about payments. Because these payments are insane. Right. Like, and life is so crazy now. Like, this is just where we're at in the world. I have to think like that because look at what's happening, bro. I don't know if that car payment is one thing. The insurance is another. But on top of all that, I don't know if they decide to put an extra tax on this particular car or this particular type of vehicle. Or I don't know what gas prices are going to look like. And I'm not one to buy a car and not use the shit. I'm going to use my car if I bought it, if I'm paying for it every month. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And so I had to prepare for that situation. The best way to prepare for anything, even my house, bro. Like, I put like 50% down. Because I don't know what the hell going to happen in the next 4 or 5 years. I want my house to be paid off. Bro, my goal is to pay off my house in the next 4 years. And I pay way more on my mortgage than I should because of it. I pay off my property tax in advance every year to keep the property, because they have like 2 different prices you can pay monthly. It's like maybe $4 or like $150 more, or you can just pay it outright. I just pay it outright. And my wife sometimes asks me like, why are you so like, because you're not paying attention to this world. Like, you feel me? Like, I don't want to be in situations. It's scary. And maybe once upon a time, our generation wouldn't have had to think like that. Our previous generations didn't have to think like that. That's not the world we live in anymore. Like, it's sad that you make new car money, but you just gotta really consider like, nah, we're in a used car situation though. We got new car money. Yeah, but
both my
I don't
wife
want to be in a no car situation because my circumstances change outside of my control.
My car is 17 years old, and then my wife's car is 10 years old. And I'm trying to get at least another 3 years out of mine, and hopefully another 5 years out of mine, and at least 3 more out of my wife's, which I think we'll have no problem doing, because I fix the cars that we work on, and they're General Motors cars. That's what I specialize in. But yeah, I feel like older generations just didn't have like this much variable, and then like also their purchasing power is just so much greater than ours. We're like, we don't, for us, it's like, for them, if they had $1,000, that was like, you could do anything with that back then. Now, $1,000, like in my shop especially, you don't get shit for $1,000.
$1,000 don't get you shit nowhere. Like, bro, I live in Brazil. I mean, don't get me wrong. $1,000 can get you a housing, get you a lot, actually. That's about where that shit stops, even in Brazil. You still got to have to pinch pennies if you make that much. Like $1,000 does not stretch as far as it does. And even if you think the effects are huge in the US, like for those of you who are like, damn, this inflation's out of control, that affects everywhere in the world. So like that, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so against these useless wars. I'm against printing money. I'm against the Fed controlling the dollar, especially when it's not backed by anything except for this petroleum, which is also a problem. Right. So there's so many, my point basically is like with this story is like explaining all of these issues just leave our country so destabilized. That's why I said, how long until we look like Argentina? Are you listening to the conversation we're having right now? Like I just told you, my Kia 14 was $175 a month. And motherfuckers is like, what? $425? Wow, that's a good deal.
For a 3-year-old vehicle, that was no options. The only option that her terrain has is a 6-cylinder and all-wheel drive, pretty much. Because like a base model terrain would be a 4-cylinder and front-wheel drive. So I wanted her to get a 6-cylinder because that's just a way better engine in that specific vehicle. And then also now we pull a camper with it. So we need something like that. But like, in order for us to replace that, we were looking at a newer body style Acadia. I think it was like a 2019 Acadia, and this one was loaded. So it was a little bit, on the nicer side. It had, I want to say, around like 60,000 miles. It's really, really nice car. If we traded in her terrain, and at the time it had around 100,000 miles on it, they wanted to give us like $5,000 for it. I'm like, $5,000 for an all-wheel drive vehicle with like, that's in perfectly good running shape, clean underneath, like clean as a whistle. You're giving me $5,000?
No, that's that trying to hold you.
Yeah. So
kiss my ass.
We
Bro,
were.
It's crazy because if you would have banged it up, it would have just gave you $2,000 anyway.
Yeah. If we traded that in and then got this Acadia, it would have been like $600 a month for like 6 or 7 years or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
So Archie Carrillo said, dude, I have a 2025 Corolla. His last car was totally on a hit and run. He's paying $464 a month.
My God. For 6 years. Wow.
And what's crazy now, it's like, I remember back in the day, bro, your car, you got in an accident and you walked out. You like, shit, boy, I just came up. Boy, I'm about to get me a new whip. Hey. Now you like, bitch, I was almost done paying this off. I got my refund. Bro, like now it's way different. Like you get your car totaled, you're like, bro, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to afford my next vehicle.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's you're gonna downgrade. Back in the day when you wrecked your car, as long as you were making all your payments and everything like that, you were guaranteed an upgrade. It was like that was kind of like the whole point of like, hey, I don't mind paying insurance if that's gonna be the outcome. Now you pay way too much for insurance. They're gonna cover the car if it gets totaled, but it's what comes next. Insurance, in my opinion, should be, especially because of how expensive it is now, it should be included that they're going to pay more towards your next brand new vehicle. Like, and it's not enough. Like they give you the settlement a lot of times for your, whatever medical bills you have, maybe for, what do they call it? Whenever you get hurt, like damages.
Damages or.
But it's like you get like $3,000 which basically covers like tags and shit like that and registration. Like that's not actually helping you put a down payment on your car. And it's not even worth it outside of making sure that other car doesn't keep weighing you down debt wise. Like we're in a very tricky place right now. And it just feels like it feels like we're on a bubble. Like it feels like we're on a bubble. It really does. And I'm thankful every day, that I get to wake up and things, in my life keep getting, I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed. But I still every day cannot shake the anxiety that one day it's not going to it don't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how much, that's the fear is like, it doesn't matter how much money we save. It doesn't matter how much, what I'm saying? Like how frugal we are. It doesn't matter how much due diligence we do before we purchase something or rent something. That's like the anxiety that I feel as a father, as a husband, as the head of the family. The anxiety that I feel from my other family members who aren't even in as fortunate situations as I'm in. Like, it's like there's a bubble that we're on, and it's going to be at a point where it doesn't matter how many good decisions you make. Like, you're still going to be susceptible to whatever comes next.
Yeah. I mean, as of today, I just started a little stock portfolio for my daughter, and I think I put about probably like $25 into it, but it's mostly just started out bi-weekly. I'm going to be putting more and more money into it, but it's investing like precious metals and stuff like that, because obviously the price on that is going to continue to go up and up and up. Obviously that's not going to be everything for her, but we also have like a little credit union that I've gone to since I was literally like 5 years old that my daughter has an account at as well. So we're trying, like, my idea with that is like, I want to give my daughter a foundation. If she decides that she wants to be a mom when she grows up and is an adult, I don't want her to ever have to think I can't afford a kid. Like that in my mind, because I'm sure that's crossed your mind, across every single parent's mind nowadays, is like, I can't afford this. Like, that shouldn't be a thing in any adult's mind. Like, I cannot afford to continue my family lineage, because, like, to me, I'm sorry, carrying on the last name of Tovik is like I feel a sincere duty to that. When I saw a line of people around my grandfather's funeral and people bawling their eyes out, and then people in my dad's shop tell me, oh, I watched your dad grow up, I watched his dad grow up, I watched you grow up, like that means something to me. So like, I kind of have a duty to continue on my last name. At least that's the way I've always felt. And I feel like I have a duty to be an upstanding moral character, to the point about wars and stuff like that. Like I feel like I have an obligation to speak out about this kind of stuff, because I wouldn't be able to say that I did, my family honor if I didn't speak truthfully about things that are harming the world. And if I didn't, do that to make sure that my daughter had a little bit of a better world to enter into, you know what I mean? Like that's the burden that I feel. And like I say burden, but like it's a necessary burden. It's what keeps me going forward. So like all that stuff is kind of like what I think about when I'm thinking about, okay, well, this is what the future is going to look like. My daughter needs to be prepared, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that she's sufficiently prepared mentally and hopefully financially as well, but also instill the discipline that like, I may be giving you this, but I need you to be a responsible adult with it.
Exactly. Yeah. My kids, they are honestly spoiled rotten a little bit, but I will say, like, especially for my oldest, he earns everything he gets. He doesn't know he does. He does to some degree, right? He knows, like, on his birthday, he gets presents, but he's fully aware, like, well, I will take these out. You will get half the presents that I was going to originally get you. I've taken presents back before, like, to the store. He knows it. I told him. He's so happy. Last year I had to burst his bubble because he was so happy about the presents he got during his birthday, his nice birthday party we threw for him. I was like, I don't know what the hell he's so happy for. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, I took half your presents back because you was acting like a little asshole for the last 2 weeks. You forgot? I told you keep being an asshole. I'm gonna take these presents back. I don't play, like, but he learned a lesson. And this year, whenever I reminded him, like, all right, don't act the ass for your birthday party, because I'll do the same shit again. He remembered quick. He was like, I'm gonna get right. You know what, Dad? You said it. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and go to my room and I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read for the next hour. Is that cool with you, Dad? Like, yes, it is. Good job. You know what time it is. Like, it's. I like my kids being able to have whatever I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not really an obstacle for them having what they want as long as they work for it and they deserve it. And like with my daughter, I'm the same way. Like, I want all my kids to be able to pursue whatever passion they want to pursue. And like one of the reasons I bought the house that I did was because I didn't want my kids being forced to move out to be like an option on the table. Like, I don't want them to be in a situation where, like, I gotta leave because we don't have enough space, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't afford for y'all to be here. One reason I want to pay off my house so quickly. And I want to be able to pass my house to my kids. I want to be able to or if two of my kids want to live together in the same house, they can do that, which is that's a thing in Brazil anyway. So like, I want my kids to have every opportunity to put themselves in a position to succeed in whatever they pursue. And I save a lot of money and I'd make a lot of decisions, which is crazy because if you would have talked to Nico 6-7 years ago, the way I would spend money, I was good at saving money, but that's also because I was good at investing and I was good at making money quick. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but if I would have saved more of it, I would have definitely been in a better position than I'm at even right now. But I was, single, no kids, different life. But when you have kids, it definitely reshapes the way you look at the world. And really reshapes the way you feel like you need to interact with it. And there is, like, it is a burden, but like you said, it's a necessary burden. It's a burden that I welcome because it's going to be our kids that carry on this legacy. It's going to be our grandkids that, like you said, whenever somebody talks about the last name House, especially in Brazil, especially considering my sons and maybe my daughter too, but definitely my sons are probably going to be the second most famous houses to have ever been Brazilian or lived in Brazil. Like, that's a big deal for me. Like, my sons being American and Brazilian and having a dad who's popular in both countries, like, that is a big, them carrying on my last name is a big deal because that's my grandpa's last name. And my grandpa's like meant the world to me. And it's specifically because my grandfather was not my biological grandfather. When he got with my grandmother was already pregnant, and he treated my dad like he was, any other. Like, we wouldn't have known if my mom didn't slip up and accidentally tell us. We would have never even known that wasn't my grandfather because my dad actually looked like him. He walked like him and talked like him and was left-handed like him and bold. Like, it was the most bizarre thing ever. And I'm like, when they told, I thought my mom was blind, but like, he always, one of the reasons he never told us wasn't because he was trying to hide it from us, but because he never wanted his grandkids to ever feel like we were, like, not part of the house legacy.
Right.
And that put, for me, extra onus on me to carry on that legacy in a way that would make him proud. And till this day, I can say with a lot of pride, actually, my grandma was very clear. She's like, oh no, you and your brother, like y'all are like the pride and joy of your grandpa and your entire family. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, they talk about you all the time. I'm like, nobody ever talks to us about it outside of grandpa. He's like, yeah, it was because they're kind of intimidated by y'all. And we're like, what? But that was my goal. Like, that was kind of like my goal. Like, my grandpa's going to be proud to be like, yeah, I made the right decision. I made the right decision by those are my damn grandkids. So, Kyle, man, once again, let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yeah, of course. Kalmatovic on Twitter, and Liberty and Health podcast on YouTube, Great Megalodon on Substack, and my band is called A Common Crown. I just had Carl Jaw on Sunday, which was really, really cool show. We talked about energy and like Taiwanese politics, and kind of how the Iran situation is affecting East Asia. So basically West and East Asia. Really, really fascinating show. I really recommend people check that out. And especially because it helps you kind of bat down all the boomer bullshit, which I know we've done a lot on this show between you and I, but he really just has a whole, way more expertise on that stuff than I do. So I highly recommend everybody go check that out. And yeah, Nico, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man.
Always great, man. Sorry we couldn't. Last week we had technical difficulties, but I'm glad that we were able to get it together this week. Brazilian internet, even though it's some of the best in the world, it's also the most sketchy at times. So y'all got to work with me. But tonight, I'm glad we have no problem. I was able to get everything out. Y'all make sure y'all like this video. Make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on X, make sure you hit that YouTube link and go subscribe to us there. Go follow me on Telegram. You can support the show by becoming a premium subscriber here on YouTube. You can become a Patreon subscriber. All those links are in the description below. But, a share is very, very valuable. Like, comments, all that stuff is very, very valuable. Help push us in the algorithm. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.